أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين وباعث الأنبياء والمرسلين الذي بعد فلا يرى وقرب فشهد النجوى تبارك وتعالى ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على خاتم النبيين وسيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين الرسول المؤيد والنبي الممجد المصطفى الأمجد أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين لا سيما عن الإمام المنتظر وحجة الله الثاني عشر ابن العسكري المنتظر ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فإن الله الصادق العليم قال في كتابه الكريم القرآن الحكيم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والنفخ في الصور فتاتون أفواجا. صلوات. Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. In the last night of our series of lectures, and I then take your leave, as we've just heard the speech of the Vice President, as well as the vote of thanks that was so generously and graciously offered. I feel also it is time that I should offer a vote of thanks. Thanks first of all to the Jamaat for inviting me and for hosting me. Secondly, to you people, brothers and sisters, who have been so patiently listening to my lectures for these last 11 nights, despite the intensity and the severity of weather and the contents of the lecture and the length of the lecture. I'm given to understand that this is the first time that Stanmore Jamaat's timings have gone awry because of the extension that has been taken place by these lectures. So thank you very much. At the same time, I would also want to thank these volunteers that have been working. They've been doing an amazing job. In that cold weather, standing outside, car parks, taking the people, helping around. It's just amazing. What really affected me was on the day of Ashura, 6:30 in the morning. I'm just looking out of my window and I see this person, clad in his volunteer, freezing cold, and he's standing outside. And we really need to commend them, and we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that everybody, all those people, in whatever manner, without naming them, these are the prime people because they're always seen, but I'm certain that there are so many people behind the scenes, in the food committee, in the reciters committee, yad, volunteers, the office bearers, everybody. Let's pray to Allah that Allah, all those people, whoever, in whatever way, directly, indirectly, with money, with kind, with body, those who have helped the cause of these Ashra Majalis for the sake of Hussain, grant them the Shafa'at Hussain on the Day of Judgment. It's being the last lecture, we need to summarize, but you summarize when you finish the topic. What do you summarize when you've not finished the topic? And as I stand and as I'm before you, I still feel that there's another 15-20% more that has to be delivered. But I will try to restrict myself to one aspect of the things that are remaining. A brief recap of what we've discussed. One small topic I shall try to finish off early. Although I don't know how many of you all would trust me, having said that so many times. But this time I really intend to make it very short, because the Ashra is finished and that Fizz is finished, and we need to go home early tonight. So we'll try to keep it as short as possible. Just a brief recap, that man in his journey from the cradle, the time he comes into this material world, the time he becomes an entity, has to go through a period of a journey with various stages. How he goes through the journey in the world is not our discussion, but our discussion is what happens when he passes out, when he sees Malakul Maut and he said that now your akhirat begins. That akhirat for which you had been warned, that akhirat for which you had been told to prepare yourself. And the initial lectures that discussed upon the death, which was again not our topic for discussion, but to link up to the series that we wanted to start. That first lecture was necessary. And then we went to the various sorts of events that would take place once a person has come out from Barzakh into the Day of Judgment. Those signs that indicate on when the Day of Judgment would come near. Those signs would be associated and simultaneous to the Day of Judgment, till Fatatuna Afwaja, Fauj people will come out. And the various aspects that would take place when a person comes, the punishments that would take place, the forms that individuals would take place, till we reach a point that the hisab is done, the kitab is given, the hisab is done. And now the final stages where we have to reach, when a person is now being made to go either into heaven or hell. But at this point of time, I would want to emphasize and acknowledge and confess one thing, that all this description that we have given, all this talk that we have presented, referring to the books of contemporary scholars, the mutaqaddimeen, the mutaakhirin, we find that most of them, all of them, state one thing very commonly. And this is what I want to state to you. Whether you refer to the lectures of Ayatollah, you sit in the lectures of Ayatollah Jawadi Amali, you refer to the books of Makarim Shirazi, you refer to the books of Ayatollah Dastaghaib Shirazi, or you refer to the books of Sheikh Abbas Qumi, or Ayatollah Jafar Subhani, or you refer to these original the sources of knowledge, you would find one thing that is very common, and all of them attest without any inhibitions, without any shyness, without any shame, that all that we are telling you, all that we are explaining in the light of the traditions are words that we understand. This is not the real scenario that would be experienced by the people, because all that we can hear, all that we understand, all that knowledge that we get is from the traditions of the Masumin. What we hear are words, what we hear are letters, what we understand is what we picturize and portray in our minds. But all of them attest that the reality will be something very, very different. Different in the sense the level of intensity will be very different. The level of understanding will be very different. Over there, the scenario, what we will be hearing right now, will be magnified several times over. So there are so many things that we hear and we see. At times you might feel that they are overlapping. At times we do not know how do we place them. But these are something that cannot be understood. These are something that cannot be described in words. Because till you don't see what is going to happen there, we will not be able to understand. So our limitations is in the form of words. We hear something, we picturize something, we put it into words. But as Quran says, when you go on to the Day of Judgment, when you see things in paradise, you will see things that was just beyond your understanding, beyond what man can imagine, beyond what man can even envisage. So with this point in mind, let us move forward. That now the accounting has taken place and now the final judgment has passed. At this point of time, there is one phase of event that is going to take place, which is referred to, that is referred to as the Sirat, a bridge, which in Arabic, in Farsi is referred to as the Pul Sirat, Jasru Sirat in Arabic, or just Sirat. This pool of Sirat, this bridge of Sirat in English, is actually an actual bridge that will be there. I'm not going into philosophy, I'm not going into Irfan, I'm just talking plain hadith as it is dictated by our scholars. See, it's supposed to be a bridge. Bridge connecting what to what? Bridge normally connects two ends, right? This is what that is going to connect one end of the Day of Judgment, the periphery of the Day of Judgment on one end. The other end will lead towards paradise. That means you cross over this bridge to enter into paradise. As you are nearing the end of the bridge, you see the doors of paradise. Passing over what? It is said this is a bridge that will be placed over Jahannam. Jahannam will be placed down from the Qiyamah, the Mahshar. The bridge will extend over Jahannam, over hell, leading into paradise. But this crossing that has been ordained for every individual that has been born has some characteristic. This bridge that has been ordained, on which every man will have to cross. If he wants to go to paradise, he has to pass them. And individuals will pass them, and individuals will fall. Those who fall down will go into hell. Those who cross over will go into paradise. But this bridge that we're talking about, this sirat that we talk about, has certain characteristics, and two main characteristics have been mentioned in the traditions. One, that it is supposed to be adaqqa min ash-sha'r, and second, it is supposed to be ahadd min as-sayf. Adaqqa min ash-sha'r means thinner than hair, and ahadd min as-sayf, sharper than a sword. That means a bridge that is as thin as a hair, but that thinness contributes to its sharpness. It is supposed to be sharper than a sword. And every individual from the time of Hadrat Adam alayhi salam till the last person who falls down upon hearing that first blowing of the trumpet, when he comes on to the Day of Judgment, this is ordained for everybody. He has to pass from the Day of Judgment, the Mahshar, to the place of paradise. He has to pass over it. But this passing over it, the tradition says, varies from individuals to individuals. And we will first explain how the people would traverse over these. Then I will give you a scenario of an explanation of an ayat in the words of the Prophet. And then we will discuss a little detail about this pull sirat that is called. This adaqqa min ash-sha'r and ahadda min as-sayf, thinner than hair and sharper than a sword, is something that everybody has to go through it. But everybody, when he is asked to go over it, will not pass in the same manner. The passing, the traversing, the crossing of an individual upon this bridge varies from individual to individual. And the primary parameter and the primary criterion that dictates how a person will pass was how he has based his life in this world. His iman upon Allah and his deeds. Iman and Amal Salih. These are the two defining parameters that will dictate how a person will cross this bridge from the time he leaves the borders of Mahshar, passing over hell which is beneath it. And I will give you an incident to show what this hell we are talking about, and then we go on to paradise. We will not be discussing hell because that is not the topic of this series. We will not be discussing about heaven because again that is not the topic of this series. But we will give you a small trailer, a small preview about what these things are and what has been explained to us. According to the traditions, the people will be of various categories, and as they are traveling over, you realize underneath there is hell with its flaming flames. Something that you remember we discussed around 6-7 lectures ago, that what is it that makes this punishment in the Akhirah so much more intense. And we had given the reference of the 40 ahadith of Imam Khomeini, where we had said those 4 characteristics are found in the Akhirah which are superlatively more than what is found in this earth, as a result of which the pain, the punishment, the torture, the experience, the perception is increased and magnified immensely. Over there, one of the things we had mentioned was the intensity of the heat. And at that time we had said that when the individuals and the mujrimeen are chained in chains of fire, and Hadrat Jibreel is telling the Holy Prophet, if one link from that entire chain were to fall upon the mountains of the earth, all of them would fall down molten because of the heat of one link from that chain which surrounds every sinner. This is that heat that we are talking about, which is flaming down. And I will just explain this tradition of the Holy Prophet as to how this Jahannam will manifest itself. But underneath is Jahannam. On the other side is paradise, over which is a bridge. You want to go there, you have to go over the bridge. You cannot stay in Mahshar forever, because it has its time duration. تَعْرُجُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَالرُّوحُ فِي إِلَيْهِ فِي يَوْمٍ كَانَ مِقْدَارُهُ 50,000 سَنَةً. 50,000 years is its duration. When that time passes, that day has to end. So nobody can stay in the Mahshar. They have to travel. Now if you have to move from Mahshar, the only place that you and me would want to go would be to paradise. Nobody would want to go into hell. But this bridge that is there, which is ahadda min as-sayf, sharper than a sword, adaqqa min ash-sha'r, thinner than thinner than a strand of hair, is placed over this Jahannam, which is heating down. This again, remember, do not keep these things out of your mind, that this fire that we are talking about, this Jahannam that we are talking about, is a living thing at that time. It knows whom to pick up. It knows whom to leave. Refer at the 40 ahadith of Imam Khomeini. It is something that has perception, that can conceive and that can perceive. Right now at the bottom it is flaming. Every individual has to pass over it. Tradition says when the people are made to pass over it, when the people are made to go over it, at that point of time people will travel in different senses. The heat over the fire below is so intense that is enough to kill anybody just walking over it. But in this moment of time, tradition says that the faster a person goes across, the lesser will be the problem that he will suffer. And this is where the difference comes, because the speed at which a person will traverse and cross this bridge will differ. The slower the person, the more the heat. The faster the person, the less the heat. And so there are tradition which says the entire structure of the movement of individuals are divided into 6 categories. There are times, and tradition says there are groups, when they go onto this bridge and they start walking, yamurru marraf sa'iqa or barq. I think there are some individuals, when they go onto this bridge, they will just move like a flash of lightning. One leg on this side, the other leg on the other side. And this bridge has the ability to increase and decrease for individuals. The lengths will be several thousand of years. That means initially, as a person finishes his hisab, he has to go onto that bridge and pass that bridge to go to paradise. Now this bridge, individuals will be somebody mithl al-barq, yamshi mithl al-barq. They will travel like the bolt of lightning, one leg over here, and like a flash of lightning they reach the other side of paradise, to the gates of paradise. This is one category of people. The tradition says the second category of people, yamurru marra rih, they will move like the wind. Wind, as you know, moves slower than light. Wind moves less, with less speed, that is less than light. The first people move like a bolt of lightning, like a flash of light. The second group will move with the speed of a wind. Yamurru marra rih. The third category of the people says there will be people who, when they start walking, they will start walking marra adwal faras. They will walk as a horse is galloping. Obviously you realize these are degrees at the speed of which a person can travel. Over there, the first category, bolt of lightning. The second category will be people who move with the speed of wind. The third category of the people will move over this pulisarat like adwal faras, like the galloping of the horse. The fourth category of the people that has been mentioned in the tradition will be yamurru marral mash, like a normal person who walks. These will be the people who will be walking. The fifth category of the people, according to the tradition, will be one who will be moving in the time and as a work of a crawling. The word that is used is habwan, yamurru ala sirati habwan. Habwan means when a child is slithering onto the ground with his hands, with his knees and his chest, and as he slides onto the ground like a reptile, that is referred to as habwa. He's saying there will be certain people who will be falling flat onto the sirat. Remember, it is adaqqa min as-sayfa, sharper than a sword. This person is now on his chest with his legs and crawling his way over the sirat. And the last category of the people, according to the tradition, will be one who will be moving marra zahaf, they will be crawling on their hands and knees. 6 category of people, 6 speeds moving over this bridge, which is sharper than sword and thinner than a hair. A little movement and this person can fall down. But over there, the movement of a person, the balance of a person is not dictated by a balance as we see in this world, that the trapeze act goes and you have to hold a pole to balance yourself to fall down. Over there, the trapeze act, over there, what dictates a person to remain on the sirat or fall down into Jahannam is not one's balance. What dictates is his iman and his amal saleh. The stronger the iman and stronger the amal saleh, he moves like a flash of lightning. The weaker the iman and lesser the amal saleh, he will fall into the hell. And this hell is how this enactment of the bridge is placed, is explained in Suratul Fajr. No, it is not explained in Suratul Fajr. In Suratul Fajr, verse number 23, Allah explains what happens on the day of judgment with respect of vis-a-vis the hell. So the verse says, Surah Fajr, verse number 23, وَجِيءَ يَوْمَئِذٍ بِجَهَنَّمَ وَيَتَذَكَّرُ الْإِنسَانَ وَأَنَّى لَهُ الذِّكْرَى. Says, on that day when Jahannam will be brought before man, at that time man will realize what has happened. Man will realize what he has done in this world. And then Quran says, what good is that realization that comes over there? Because realization, when it comes over there, is not going to help out a person. What is going to help a person is realization in this world. But over there, the ayat says Jahannam will be brought before the people. When this ayat came down, the Holy Prophet was narrating it, reciting it to his companions. Somebody asked him, when Allah says وَجِيءَ يَوْمَئِذٍ بِجَهَنَّمْ, Jahannam will be brought, what does it mean? The Holy Prophet then starts explaining. And in the course of this explaining, he explains what happens. He says, when all the khalaiq, when all the people from the first, people from the last are brought onto the plains of mahshar, at that time God's presence will be felt. At that time he will issue the command, bring forth the Jahannam and place it over here at the edge of the mahshar, so that people can see what is this that they have been warned about. They said Jahannam will be brought, but how will it be brought? Saying it will be pulled and it will be brought. Pulled by whom? Pulled by angels. Pulled how? They said there are 1,000 reins. There are 1,000 ropes. What ropes? We don't know. This is what the terminology of the Masoom is. 1,000 ropes tied to Jahannam. Each rope will be held by 1,000 angels. So 1,000 ropes. Each rope being pulled by 1,000 angels, equivalent to 1,000,000 angels. Tradition says these 1,000,000 angels are not angels of Rahmah. These are not angels of mercy. Tradition says they are Ghiladu Shadad. Quran refers to Ghiladu Shadad as those, as in Surah Tahrim, verse number 6, Allah refers to these angels as Ghiladu Shadad, where He says these are angels who are no ordinary angels. These are angels who are extremely severe. These are angels who are extremely strict, who care about nothing, who follow nothing, who understand nothing except the orders of God. And these have been specifically identified to rule over Jahannam and to pull the Jahannam. When the command of Allah will come, this Jahannam will be brought forward. It will be pulled by 1,000 reins, each rein being pulled by 1,000 angels. 1,000,000 angels, Ghiladu Shadad, bringing forth this Jahannam. As the Quran, this tradition says, as the Jahannam is brought near the mahshar, people will hear its roaring, people will hear its growling, people will hear the ferocious sounds, Zafiruha wa shahiquha, coming out. The terms that Quran uses and the terms that the tradition uses are Zafiruha wa shahiquha, the groaning of the hell, the moaning of the hell, the growling of the hell. In normal terms, if you have to see the ferociousness with which the sound that will emanate from Jahannam will be, in a very simple terms, compared to, say, for example, a 5-day hungry tiger in a cage when he wants to eat food. looking forward to devour everything that is in its path. As this Jahannam comes, people in that entire gathering are now looking up in absolute amazement, in absolute daze. Remember what was said to you on that day, that when the day of judgment will come, for those who do not believe, shākhasatun absārul ladhīna kafaru, the eyes would be popping out when you see an entity that is pulled by 1,000,000 angels, in whose sound can be heard years apart. And when that thing is coming near, this tradition of the Holy Prophet says that this hell that comes is emanating so much heat that this tradition says, Prophet says, it is only Allah who has held the hell back from devouring everybody on that plains of Qiyamah. Allah has said, hold on, do not come forward till I finish the accounting. It is the command of God that prevents the hell from coming out with its heat and encompassing and devouring everybody on that plain. You remember that time when we said, when the hell people will be sent to hell and when the people of heaven will be sent to heaven, at that time again this hell will call out to God, oh God, hal min mazid, is there any more of your disobedient servants that you want me to put at rest? When this hell will come, at that time Allah will put a bridge of Pul-e-Sirat upon it. And tradition says every people will be made to go over it. And now the end part of this tradition says the angels are surrounding this, because as people will start moving across this bridge, trying to go from the periphery of Mahshar into the paradise, tradition says you will see that these people are dropping from the Pul-e-Sirat into the pits of hell like kal-firash, like moths. As moths, when they come near the fire, their wings get singed, their wings get burnt, they cannot fly anymore, they just drop down. This tradition says then the people will start walking on this adaqta min ash-sha'r wa ahadda min as-sayf, they will fall down like moths fall down when they are singed by fire. And when they are falling down, tradition says angels are all around. There are angels of mercy who surround the Pul-e-Sirat, and when they see people falling down, all of them will clamor and plead in the baragah of Allah, Ya Allah, have mercy, wa'afu. The words that have been mentioned is Ya Halim wa'afu wasfah wa'ud bil fadl. Oh Allah, have mercy, have rahmat, turn to them in mercy and relieve them from this pressure and this punishment. But they say every person who is going to, no, not every person, certain individuals, when they are going, they will fall down. How they will fall down, I will just explain to you. But they say this adaqqa min ash-sha'r, ahadda min as-sayf has several stations, because there is a purpose for having this bridge. There is a reason for having this bridge. That means after the accounting has taken place, now the punishment needs to start, and the start of the punishment is from this Pul-e-Sirat. This punishment that we see, that we hear, and we say, oh God, can He punish us so much? It is not God who is punishing us so much. It is we who are bringing this punishment on ourselves. You want to understand why we are bringing this punishment on ourselves? Because all the time we say, Allah, Allahumma adkhilni al-jannah. Allah, we want to go to paradise. When we die, put us into paradise. Give us your bounties of akhirah. Give us this, give us that. We have been asking to go to paradise, but we are the ones who are stopping ourselves from entering into paradise. And the reason is that paradise is a place that is pure, that is tahir, that is absolutely without any najasat. And that is the reason it is said, I don't want to go this, but now since it has come, in paradise it is said that there will be no najasat, there will be no there won't be any impurity, there will not be any najasat, there will not be any dirt, to such an extent that people, traditions say, in paradise there will be no urination, in paradise there will be no stool, in paradise there will be no semen, in paradise there will be no menstrual blood. Everything that is najis will be devoid in paradise. It is a place of purity. It is a gardens of bliss. There will be no impurity of any form, any najasat in paradise. And that is why it is said, in paradise people will be given alcohol and wine to drink. One of the streams of the 4 streams, Quran says, Jannatin tajri min tahtiha al-anhar. In Jannat there are streams that flow under it. One of the streams is is alcohol, is wine. But this wine is not an intoxicating wine. This wine is not a najis wine. It is a wine that will be pure wine, that will not intoxicate. How? Don't ask me. The tradition says. I do not know. Ulama cannot say. When we go there, inshallah, we will see. But over there, nothing can be najis. When nothing can be najis, all these issues that najasat, that we heard 11 najasat in the fiqh, none of them will be over there. It is a pure place. You eat something, the fudla, the waste materials will just disappear. There will be no urination created, no stool, no nothing. Now this person, me for example, I want to go to paradise, but I've committed sins. If I've committed sins, sins brings about najasat, not the physical najasat. Not like touching urine. When I touch urine, my finger externally becomes najis. But when I commit sins, my ruh becomes najis. Over there, neither the ruh can be najis, nor the jism can be najis. The body has to be pak and tahir. The soul has to be pak and tahir. For making the body pak and tahir, I'm still going there in that direction. Sallu ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. I'm trying not to enter paradise. I'm trying not to enter hell. I'm still supposed to enter. There is no najasat over there. The physical body cannot be najis. The ruh cannot be najis. In order for the body to become tahir, before entering into paradise, everybody will be asked. All those who are to enter paradise will be made to enter and take a dip into the pool of Kawthar. Those people who have spent their time in hell and now have to come to heaven, when they come out, they'll be charred. They'll be black. They will be embers, they will be cinders. But this person in this state cannot go there, because that is a place of bliss. Tradition says he will be asked, take a dip in paradise, into the pool of Kawthar. When he takes a dip into the pool of Kawthar, when he comes out, he will come out young. He will come out illuminated. He will come out radiant. He will come out fragrant. This is how he will be made to enter paradise. Now this person who has committed a sin, looking at Muharram with lust, the eyes become najis. Ladies move without hijab, hand become najis. This hand, this eye just cannot go into paradise. But the whole life I've been telling God, Allahumma adkhilni al-Jannah, enter me into paradise. Let me go into paradise. Let me partake from the bounties of paradise. God says, you want to go to paradise? These eyes of yours need to become tahir. That lady, her hand needs to become tahir. Because people, when they look at the hand, they will not look as a brother looks at a sister. They will not look as a father looks as a daughter. They will look at it with lust. When lustful eyes go, this become najis. This has to become tahir. Because that lady herself has been saying, Allahumma adkhilni al-Jannah, make me enter paradise. Now, if she has to enter paradise, if Shaykh has to enter paradise, this eyes needs to be cured. This eye needs to be made pure. This eye needs to be made tahir. Over there, fire makes things tahir, not water as in this world. So the eyes will burn, the hands will burn. We are bringing it upon ourselves. He is not burning it for us. We are causing it to burn. He said, these are my laws in the world. In this world, najasat cleared by water. In that world, najasat cleared by fire. That is his rule that he set up. We don't get ourselves najis, that fire will not touch us. We become najis, we want to go to paradise, we have to become pak, the fire will do tahir to us. What is the point of complaining then? There is no need to complain, because we brought it upon ourselves. Look at this tradition. Tradition, whenever there are these fantastic traditions that apparently fantastic, I tend to give references to make people realize this is not stories. Narrated by Allama Bahauddin Sayyid Ali ibn Abdul Karim al-Najafi. He is narrating this incident from his father in his book Anwarul Maziyah. Sheikh Abbas al-Qummi, the author of Mafatihul Jinan, like very ma'roof, very authentic, very veracity of whom has been absolutely attested, has picked it up and he's written in his book Manazilul Akhirah. What does Allama Bahauddin Sayyid Ali say? He says in the place, his name was Allama Bahauddin Sayyid Ali ibn Abdul Karim al-Naili al-Najafi. Naila is a place near in Iraq, near Najaf. He's saying in our town in Naila, there was a small mosque. As with every mosque, there was a caretaker who cleans the mosque, who opens the mosque for the musalli, and when people go, they close the mosque. He takes care of the mosque, cleans it. This caretaker was taking care for years in that mosque. One day it so happened that when people came for prayers, so the mosque is locked. The caretaker is not open. In olden days, as even now, wherever there is a center or a mosque, there is a small place for the caretaker to stay so that he is near the compound to take care. They go to see, the door is locked. They manage to get the key, they knock at the door of the caretaker. He doesn't open. So they manage to get the key, they open the door, they pray salat. Say probably he is sick, he is not well, he's gone out. That's why he's not able to open the door. Time of Dhuhrain comes, again the caretaker is not seen. Okay, probably he's not well, he's resting. Maghribain, again he's not seen. They go to knock at the door, and a whole day he's not there. No response. Probably he's traveled or what? When it's late at night, people are passing by, they see light in his house. Say, Allah, he's there over there, but he's not opening the door. Okay, probably he's got some work, he doesn't want to come out. Next day, the whole of next day he doesn't come. They keep knocking, he doesn't open. Third day when he doesn't come, now they become serious, intense. Open the door, open the door. They say, no, I cannot open the door. They managed to get the alim over there to ask him to open the door. He's saying, I'm Sheikh so-and-so, can you open the door? He said, no, I cannot open the door. Saying, I want to speak to you. Saying, I don't want to speak to anybody. He's saying, I'm requesting you. I am asking you, open the door. He's saying, hi, but only you are, nobody else. He's saying, only me. Opens the door a little. The alim comes, he locks the door. Now when that alim sees him, he's amazed. Because from top to bottom, this person, the caretaker, is burnt, except a portion of his thigh. The only place from his entire body that was not burned was a portion of his right thigh that was salim. The entire body charred as if he's been picked up from fire, but not dead, living. Says, Ya Khuda, what is this? What has happened to you? Saying, don't ask me. Saying, tell me what happened to you. You kabisa burned from top to bottom. With this kind of a burn, a person doesn't live. You are still alive. But what do I see? Every part of your body is burned except your right thigh. Saying, you want to listen? Listen. 2 nights ago, that means the day on which he did not first come to the mosque, the night before that. He's saying, I was sleeping in my bed. When I was sleeping, I saw in my dreams Qiyamah has come. When Qiyamah came, I was doing the accounting, I saw the accounting going with God. It was going bad. I was really being taken to task. And I realized I'm having a big problem. I will not come out of this properly. Eventually my accounting gets finished and I was told, just go on to the pool of Sirat. As I go on walking onto the pool of Sirat, initially I'm able to balance myself. But as I keep going forward, I see that the Sirat becoming narrower and narrower till a time comes and becomes hotter and becomes sharper. Saying, as I keep going, I find that now I'm not able to balance myself. And after a certain time, it becomes so narrow that I lose my balance. As I lose my balance, I see below the fire of flame, the flames of the hellfire, just spurting up like mountains. Fumes coming up like mountains. As soon as I slip, I lose my balance, I fall into it. So as I keep falling, I'm being enveloped by this fire from all sides. And I'm thinking that I'm falling down and I'm falling down and I will reach and I will reach. But I just cannot reach. I keep falling down. I keep falling down. And he says, I must have fallen. It seemed as if that pit in which I was falling was an incomplete pit. An incomplete abyss. It just would not end. An unending abyss. I kept falling and I kept falling, and as I kept falling, I kept burning and I kept burning. From top to bottom, I became charred and I'm screaming out. I must have dropped at least for 70 years, he's saying. There was no end for that pit of Jahannam. I am following, I am being burnt all along. Till all of a sudden it struck me, why don't I call Amir al-Mu'mineen? So he says, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, aghithni. Oh Ali, help me. As soon as I say this, in one corner I see a luminous personality standing. I am still falling, but all of a sudden my heart says, ho na ho, whatever happens, that man is Ali ibn Abi Talib. So I say, Ya Ali, help me. I put out my hand. As I put out my hand, Imam Ali takes hold of my hand and pulls me to him. As he sees me flaming, he puts his hand on my thigh. The fire from my thigh goes off. He puts me at the side, top to bottom I'm burning. He puts his hand on my thigh. The fire goes out from my thigh. My eyes open. As soon as my eyes open, I see the state of mind. At times Allah opens the unseen, the curtains of ghaib, to show the people this is what happens. What you hear is not stories, and this is narrated by individuals, and that is the reason I mentioned. Sheikh Abbas Qummi is narrating from Anwarul Maziyah, from Sheikh Allama Sayyid Bahauddin and Sayyid Ali. All personalities that you just cannot deny and repudiate and reject. These are the realities. But with few minutes left, I will just skip some other part, 2-3 points, and then I terminate. We've all been hearing certain things that we need to help us out, correct? This Pul Sirat that is called will have 7 stations. And on each station, every person will be dealt according to what they did with respect to these 10 things. In the first station of Pul Sirat, person will be asked about the amana, the trust that he has taken from people, and has he returned them back. I am going very fast. The second thing that he will be asked about will be Sila Rahim. How has person been dealing with his family members, with his relatives, with his mother, with his father? Any problems in this, and he goes straight into the hellfire. The third thing that he will be asked about will be the Wilaya. These 3 things will be asked in the first station. On the second station, the questioning and the punishment will take place for Salat. In the third station, the questioning and the punishment will take place for Zakat. And Zakat is something which tradition says, if somebody does not give Zakat, and mind you, when we are talking about Zakat, let me just finish. In the first station, you have 3 things. In the second station, Salat. In the third station, you've got Zakat. In the fourth station, you've got fasting. In the sixth station, you've got in the fifth station, you've got Hajj. In the sixth station, you've got Taharat. And in the seventh station, you've got Madhalim. What does it mean? In every of these stations, individuals will be asked about these things. But not just about these things. Everything related to that. So if people are on the Zakat station, he will be asked about Zakat, and he will be asked about Khums, and he will be asked about Sadaqah, and he will be asked about Kafara. Anything to do with money will be asked in this station. Tradition says that if an individual does not give even a small amount of Zakat, ma mana'a shay'am min zakat malihi, on the day of Qiyamah, if somebody does not give Zakat on the day of Qiyamah, that amount of Zakat that he did not give, Allah will turn it into thu'abanum min nar. He will convert it into a snake made up of fire. Mutawwaqun fi unuqihi. It will be tied around his neck. Tanhashu fi lahmihi. And that snake of fire will keep biting him, and will keep eating him, and will keep stinging him till that entire day of Qiyamah of 50,000 years go about. This is just one hadith of Zakat I'm talking about. I'm still not talking about Khums. I'm still not talking about Kafarat. I'm still not talking about Sadaqat. I'm not still talking about people who have money but do not want to give it in the way of God. Quran has numerous indications. People who hoard wealth, people who have been given wealth, people whom Allah has bestowed with wealth but do not want to spend it for the members, from the people and the community members, for the insaniyat, for the people who need them and want to hoard them. A severe punishment has been mentioned. But we move forward. All these 7 stations, people will be asked. And as you see, the first station, very important, because 3 important things: Wilaya, wilayah, sila rahim. First is about the wilayah, second is sila rahim, third is amana. Very intense. And the last one and the seventh one is haqqun nas. He's traversed all the six as he's about to enter paradise. Now he sees that final step and I'm at paradise, but he has to go through radd madhalim or the madhalim or haqqun nas or the rights of the people that we have mentioned. But now we want to just leave that aside. We want to give you something that people have been asking. What are the solutions? Few solutions of passing on the Pul Sirat according to the traditions easily. One, it is mentioned in the book Al-Iqbal of Sayyid Radiyuddin ibn Taus. The book Al-Iqbal has a longer name. It is Al-Iqbal bil-a'mal al-hasanah fima yu'malu marratan fi as-sanah. This is the name of the book. The author is Sayyid Radiyuddin ibn Taus. This Sayyid Radiyuddin ibn Taus falls from the Al Taus family, a long family with enormous scholars in them. The seventh grandfather of this author, Sayyid Radiyuddin ibn Taus, was a person by the name of Taus, Muhammad ibn Ishaq, and he was called Taus because of his beautiful looks, because of his handsome looks. He was called Taus, and all his sons now began to be called Ibn Taus. One of the Ibn Taus, Sayyid Radiyuddin, a man of immense clout, a man of immense karamat, numerous miracles seen from him. And if you were to tell me to pick up 5 or 6, no, not me, if you were to insist upon scholars to pick up 5 or 6 major scholars of Islam, the very first few would be Sayyid Radiyuddin ibn Taus. His life history, if we hear, we would know what it is. In his book Al-Iqbal, he mentions one of the things that saves a person and makes a person pass easily on the Pul Sirat is in the month of Rajab, in the first night of Rajab. In the first night, and you will always see this, the month of Rajab and the month of Sha'ban, there are numerous acts which if done will save a person from numerous and various punishments of the Akhirah. One of them is this, that Sayyid Radiyuddin is mentioning in his book Al-Iqbal. He says in the first night of Rajab, if somebody recites 20 rakat prayers, 2 rakat like morning prayers, Alhamd, Surah, Ruku, Sajda, 1 rakat, 2 rakat. Every prayer of 2 rakat. If a person recites 20 rakat on the first night of the month of Rajab, he will be protected from the punishment of Pul Sirat. That is one. Second thing that is said is that in the month of Rajab, again the month of Rajab, and if you pick up Mafatihul Jinan, you will find all the amal start from the month of Rajab. In the month of Rajab, it is said, if somebody fasts for 6 days, he will be passing like a bolt of lightning from the Pul Sirat. So first night, 20 rakat. In the whole month, 6 days of fasting in the month of Rajab. And now the final, before I come to the Masaib. And the final thing that saves a person from the punishment, from the horrors, from the severity of passing over the Pul Sirat is the ziyarat of Imam Ali ibn Musa al-Rada alayhi salatu wassalam. This has been specifically mentioned, not by any scholars, not by any alim, by Imam Rida himself. There is a tradition from Imam Rida where he says, Man zarani marratan fi hayatihi zurtuhu thalathan ba'da wafatihi. Ajaban. He's saying, whoever does my ziyarat once while he is alive, after he dies, I will come to his ziyarat 3 times. Whoever does my ziyarat while he is alive once, I will do his ziyarat after he has died 3 times. One of them is at the time of Sirat. In the Sirat, he says, I will be there to help him and take him across Sirat. And you heard last night the Ahlul Bayt and the powers and the rank and the azmat that they have got in the Day of Judgment. But this rank, when people do not realize, and that is the reason we've been emphasizing, that the love of Ahlul Bayt is very important. The muhabbat of Ahlul Bayt is very important. Understanding a lecture is good, but a time comes when you have to realize it is the muhabbat. There is the love that needs to be inculcated within our youths. It is the duty of the parents to ensure that that love is inculcated. If not for the sake of the child, then for the sake of the parents. Because eventually when a person dies, his actions are terminated. No good deeds count. Then what is going to help out are our children. If we teach them that whenever we sit on the table, we have to recite Suratul Fatiha for the marhumeen, then when we die and that habit is inculcated, then after our death they will recite Suratul Fatiha, which will come to us. If we are ignorant of this fact and says, go and eat whatever you want, without training them, then forget about the children. We ourselves will have a problem, because when we go there and the deeds that we do in this world, there is no other hope for us except these children. And if these children are not taught what we should be teaching them, forget about them. Let us be selfish. Even we will suffer if we do not teach them. How long does it take for them to teach them few good things? Muhabbat of Ahlul Bayt. You ask questions, yes, but make sure when it is masaib, then you send your heart to the Ahlul Bayt. But the problem is that when you have ranks such as the Ahlul Bayt, and then people do not consider these ranks, then you have what is called the tragedy of Karbala. Today is the 12th night of Muharram. The entire family of Hussein is gone, the males. It is in chaos. Ashura has passed away. Sham-e-Ghariba has come. All the instances that you saw. Now there is no Hussein with Zainab. There is no Abbas with Sakin. There is no Akbar. There is no Asghar with Rabab. That entire family now, in the darkness of the night of Sham-e-Ghariba, beside tents that no longer exist, all that remain of the tents are dust and cinders. Sitting under the sun, on the sand, in the darkness, nobody to help them, children crying, Zainab crying, children crying out of fear, Zainab crying out of the love of Hussein. But when people want to fall down in meaningless and in depths of lowliness, and they go to any extents. And there have been so many instances of what happened in Karbala. Today I will just explain one instant, 2 minutes, and then we can terminate the Majlis. You heard what happened on the day of Ashura. When each person was being killed, after the killing was done, that means after the Asr Ashura, everybody is gone. Initially the Ashab died, the companions of Hussein. And then slowly the Bani Hashim died. When Hussein died, everybody is dead. Abbas near Furat, Qasim in the battlefield, Awnu Muhammad, Akbar, everybody. Once they died, Omar Assad issued an order. This is not enough. I want to humiliate them further. So what? He put iron hooves under the hooves of the horses. And he said, I want all the lashas to be trampled. This was because in the Arabian Peninsula, it was a rule that when you want to humiliate somebody to the nth degree, don't stop when he dies. After he's dead, use the horses to trample the dead bodies, to show the absolute ignominy that you want to instill upon him. So all the lashas were trampled. This is not what I want to go. I'm leading to something else. Saying now this is also not enough. I want to take presents from Karbala. I want to take presents from Karbala to Ibn Ziyad. What are those presents? He says, I want the heads of all the people killed. So each person would take a dagger, go to every shaheed, pick up the head and chop off his head. And then he would take those heads, put it on lances and raise it atop. These are our medals, these are our presents of what we've done in Karbala. But this was also not enough. Because now when the heads were cut, all the bodies were now lying without heads, All the bodies on the plain of Karbala, forget about not giving them kafan. Forget about not giving them ghusl. Forget about not giving them dafan. The bodies lying on the hot burning sands of Karbala without heads. Now when all the heads are on atop the spears, Omar Assad is counting. 1, 2, 3, 70, 71. Bani Hashim 71. There were 72 people amongst the Bani Hashim. One head is missing. Count again. They again count. 1, 2, 3, 70, 71. He's saying there is one head missing. One present missing. I want that head. They start looking. Who? Abbas's head is here. Qasim's head is here. Maulana Muhammad's head is here. Fazl's head is here. He's saying, I don't see the head of that 6-month-old Asghar. Where is that head of that Asghar? That head I want, because that was the boy who nearly brought about rebellion in my army. He was the man, he was the person who almost turned my forces against me. I want that head. People said, let him go, small 6-month-old. I will not leave Karbala till I get the head of Asghar. Now you know that riwayat, na? Hussein, when Asghar died, Hussein knew the horses are going to trample the dead body. He said, this small little child, 6-month-old, how is he going to bear the trampling? He is dead, yes. His body will move into smithereens if the horses go. So he took him, went behind the tent, dug up a grave, put him inside and covered him flat. But at this time, there are no tents because tents have been burnt. Where are the ladies sitting in one corner? Zainab, Kulzum, Rabab, Sakina, Ruqayya, everybody sitting over there. Say, we can't find that boy. We can't find that child. Umar says, I want that find. I want that child. Shimr, do anything. I want that head. Shimr gathers 500 soldiers, puts them on horses, gives them big, big spears, and says, search the whole plains of Karbala for that body. If we can't find the body, surely Hussein must have buried him. Take these lances, go on the horses, start piercing every piece of Karbala land to find out where the body. 500 soldiers on horses with big lance, starting to poke the land of Karbala to find out where the body of Karbala is. Rabab is sitting in the corner. She's watching them doing this. Her heart is beating, but she knows where Asghar is buried now because Hussein showed it. He knows, she knows. As long as they are far, she's in a tranquil state. She's in a calm state. But Shimr starts coming near to where the tents were. As Shimr starts coming near, her palpitations increase. As Shimr starts coming, palpitations increase. Every step, Shimr is poking his spear onto the ground. Poking his spear onto the ground. Hitting the spear onto the ground. As he's nearing the grave, as Rabab's state goes bad, she knows where Asghar's grave is. But now, as Shimr comes to one place, as he pushes his spear, Rabab knows this is the place of Asghar. She turns to Zainab and says, Bibi Zainab, my son Asghar, my son Asghar. But now, when Shimr puts it down, as usually wants to pull it up, now when he pulls up, the spear doesn't come out empty. With it comes out the lasha of 6-month-old Asghar. As Rabab is watching, she can't watch. Rabab can't watch. Shimr, as he sees this, he's Allahu Akbar. I found my present. He comes down from the horse, puts the body onto the ground, takes out the dagger, kneels down, once blow, the head of Asghar is in his hand. Rabab watches, turns to the Maqtal, O Aka Hussain, my son Asghar, killed twice, one by the arrow, once by the spear, 6-month-old child, small little body, oh my Asghar, wa Asghara, wa musibata, ala wa la'anatullah, ala al-qawm al-zalimin. Ma